Well, a very good afternoon and welcome to KTN Business today. My name is Abi Agina and it is the 6th day of April, and on the program we'll be telling you more about what's been happening in the retail space. Tuskys has just pulled the plug on Nakumatt. We have more details into this particular story, which sets a very dark future really for Nakumatt retail store. Other than that, we'll also be having a regular segment, that is our Week in Perspective with Ken Gishinga, who is already with us here in studio. We'll be just taking stock of what's been making headlines throughout the week. But let's start you off with a look at the markets this afternoon, how the shilling has been performing against the US dollar, as well as other world currencies such as the euro, as well as the sterling pound. Well, let's take a look at those numbers now. Of course, interesting developments really from the markets. We did see the NSE 20 share index also edging upwards this week. And of course, we'll be getting more on this, and we should have the numbers on our screens shortly. Well, there they are. The US dollar today is trading at 100.92, buying, selling at 100.12. The sterling pound is trading at 141.57, selling at 141.88, whereas the euro is trading at 123.70, as against selling at 123.98. Well, that's just a quick look at the markets. Let's take a look at the NSE performance, how the markets closed off last evening. Well, the turnover stood at 1 billion shillings. Shares traded was at 599 million shares. The 20 share index was at 3,820.84, whereas the bonds traded was at 758 million. Let's take a look at the most active counters for this hour. Well, Equity Bank tops the charts. They are up 2.27 million worth of shares have been so far traded. Barclays Bank coming in second, 2.17 million. Safaricom at 2.01 million. Mumias Sugar also doing well. They've moved 902,000 worth of shares. 902,000, I beg your pardon. Well, a lot happening indeed in the sugar sector, as you'll see later on the second part of this show. Well, let's turn our attention now to the winning counters. We have TransCentury, which is up 9.87%. We're also seeing some interesting developments around a number of the stocks there, as we also continue looking at the various stocks. We've also seen Kenya Airways has also been performing very well in trading this week. Let's turn our attention now to the losing counters. And of course, top on the losing counters today, we have Uchumi Supermarkets. It's down 8.16%. Samia Africa down 6%. Flame Tree down 5.38%. Whereas we're having Express Limited at 4.17%. Well, that's a quick look at the markets as of this hour, and we definitely continue to shed more light into this. Well, to that story I mentioned, that retail chain Tuskys has pulled the plug on a rescue partnership it has been seeking with Nakumatt in what could push the troubled supermarket into deeper crisis. Well, Tuskys, through its lawyers, wrote to the Competition Authority of Kenya, and they actually required 9 days, saying that it was reconsidering its interest in the partnership deal with Nakumatt. According to an article in the Business Daily, Tuskys says the decision was informed by rising concern over some of the proposals Nakumatt court-appointed administrator had presented to the creditors at a meeting in March. Under the proposed deal with Nakumatt, Tuskys was to provide 650 million shillings to support Nakumatt's operations. And of course, this is a story we definitely will continue following up for you in our subsequent bulletins. Well, let's take a look at the Stanbic Purchasing Managers Index for this month. Well, the health of the private sector in Kenya improved to the greatest extent since January 2016. During March, output growth quickened to the fastest rate since the inception of the survey in January 2014. Meanwhile, the rise in the new orders accelerated to the sharpest since December 2016. Well, underpinned by a survey record rise in new export orders reflecting improved demand conditions. Job creation quickened to the fastest since last May on the price front. Input cost inflation was also sharp despite softening from the preceding month. Well, James Reggae has been named as the new chairman of the Kenya Electricity Transmission Company. Reggae takes over at a time when the power service provider, that is KTRACO, is running an ambitious strategy that is looking towards boosting power transmission across the country. Well, Reggae will be serving a 3-year term as chairman of the state-owned company, and he takes over from Dr. Kenneth Sigali, whose term had come to an end. Reggae, a former member of parliament and a career civil servant, will be overseeing KTRACO's ambitious agenda to scale up power transmission across the country. Well, we do wish him all the very best as he takes over the mantle of leadership at KTRACO's board. Well, to some food fortification news now, and the perennial shortage on maize and flour may soon be a thing of the past. This is thanks to an NGO that is trying to root for a new model when it comes to fortifying food. Philip Kitani has more details on that report.
Staple food for the majority of households in Kenya, and any fluctuation in supply often result to food insecurity. During the previous years, the government had to provide subsidy on maize flour to bring down the consumer retail prices of the maize meal.
There is need for us to change our mindset towards the traditionally high-value crops that we are producing.
Now, Farm Concern International, in collaboration with the government, are proposing interventions that will see increased production and commercialization of millets and sorghum as maize blends, which will help promote healthy, nutritious flour while easing pressure on demand for maize.
There is a high need now for us to reduce pressure on relying on maize as our source of food by encouraging blending, by promoting blending of maize, sorghum, millets, to produce flour.
Blending maize flour with millet and sorghum is expected to have tremendous positive impact on ensuring food sufficiency and enhancing nutritious status for the population. Maize production stood at 40 million bags in 2017, while per capita consumption was estimated at 82 kilograms per person per year.
The regulations can be made to ensure that our millers are given certain ratios to incorporate various crops like the millets, the sorghums, the cassava, and even some of the pulses to ensure there is food and nutrition security.
The main aspect here is to ensure that we unlock the potential that at the consumer level and at the market level to categorize increased production of sorghum, millet, and cassava to be blended with maize.
Annual average uses of maize on food and other uses is about 62 million bags, therefore creating a national deficit of 20 million bags per year, and it is unsuitable to rely on imports to bridge food deficit. Hence, the proposed maize flour blending with millet and sorghum is expected to help reduce the demand on maize and maize flour. Philip Kaitan, KTN News.
Well, indeed, some bright future there for food fortification. Let's talk matters taxation now, and 7 billion shillings, that is not the amount proposed for a mega project, but the amount the government lost through tax evasion by 2 suspects. Well, Keval Kumar Mysura and RT Bakrani were arrested after having been found to actually registered more than 9 businesses under fabricated names with the aim of defrauding the government. The false names allowed the 2 to make fictitious invoicing in excess of 15 billion shillings. Officers from Kenya Revenue Authority conducted a search on the residential premises on the 2 suspects and confiscated crucial documents and electronic devices, which continue to be followed up by the police as well.
Obey unless there are compelling reasons for not doing so. In granting bond, the court has to address itself to several issues. That includes the nature of the case in question. That is number 1. Number 2, if the accused person is a flight risk.
Well, the Kenya Pipeline Company has reported a 48.8% growth in assets, buoyed by an increase in investments in property, plant, installation and acquisition of new equipment. KPC's total asset base actually stands at 105.8 billion shillings, ranking it among the largest firms in the region. The company, which held its AGM, however, posted a decline in pre-tax profit to 11.5 billion shillings compared to last year, which was at 12.1 billion shillings. The slight decline in profitability is mainly attributable to an increase in direct expenses, which went up by 1.5 billion shillings to meet the cost of key one-off initiatives, such as maintaining the aging Mombasa-Nairobi pipeline at a cost of 500 million shillings. To some investment news now, and Movenpick has set base in Kenya. Well, Movenpick, which is one of the hotels in the world and resorts, has made its debut in Kenya with the official opening today. And it is actually located in the thriving commercial, retail and entertainment hub of Westlands, close to the city center. And this particular entry, according to the general manager, is an indication that Nairobi is one of East Africa's fastest growing hubs for tourism and trade, and the arrival of Movenpick in the city will cater to strong demand from the local business community and corporate leisure travelers who continue to stream into the country. Well, some good news there for the hospitality sector. Well, it's time for our Week in Perspective segment, where we take stock of some of the stories that have made headlines throughout the week. And one of the top stories we followed up this week was in relation to the Kenya Revenue Authority indicating its commitment towards improving tax collection. And how are they going to do this? This is through ensuring that people who file nil returns are able to be better documented. Here's what the Commissioner General, John Jiraini, had to say about this.
No one and no one's license has been revoked. The truth is that they are still operating. There could be people who fear that this process may expose things that may be difficult to explain.
The other story that also was quite big in the business world this week was in relation to Kenya Bureau of Standards, in conjunction with KRA, have announced that they will be stepping up, actually rolling out new import rules. And this will see all consolidators for both air and sea cargo required to register with KEBS to have their goods inspected under a new procedure created by the Kenya Bureau of Standards and Kenya Revenue Authority. The new procedure targets cargo containing a wide range of products or merchandise. The cargo generally is in small quantities or parcels, belongs to several consignees. According to KEBS, according to KEBS, importers pool or assemble together parcels to form one consignment, which may be declared as belonging to one importer at the port of destination or deconsolidated back into the individual consignments for delivery to the respective cargo owners upon arrival at the destination port. Well, other than that, another story that we'll also be looking deeply into is in relation to I&M Bank, which has acquired a stake in UJ's, which is a subsidiary in the Insurance Agency Limited, has announced the successful completion of acquisition of UJ's Insurance Brokers Limited. Imal acquired 100% of the shareholding of the insurance brokering firm, and this is more on that.
Today have completed the signing, which brings UJ's Insurance Brokers on board into the I&M Insurance Agency. So we have completed this purchase because we feel that brokerage services have a role to play in the insurance space, in the bank insurance space particularly. We're looking to infuse additional bench strength into the I&M Insurance Agency, and we felt that this particular acquisition brings two I&M strengths that we felt were necessary for us to be able to grow our young bank insurance